Okay guys, so in this video you are going to see me finally get my 50cc back up and running. It's only a little bit of footage of it running, but we do get there. We have a small snafu that we end up not fixing until a later time. This is my very first motor I ever bought. I only worked on it in my spare time. So I hope you guys stick around. I hope you guys enjoy the video. Let me know what you think in the comments. We still have a lot to work to do to this motor and a bunch of other projects coming up soon. All right, let's get into it. For a reference, that comes to a point, so you know. Okay, so that is to a point, and that will show you how thin the wall is that holds the threads. And this one was even less, and that's the one that stripped out. I'm gonna end up grinding all this back down to straight aluminum to what it looked like, so everything fits totally normal. I'll clean the top off so the deck height is nice and good and smooth and all that baloney, and we will hope for the best. That's where we're at. Ooh, look at that, a perfect impression. Now that will give me the clearances for literally everything. It will give me the clearance between this and the crank, between the barrel of the crank and the wall. It gives me everything. Looks like about 3.8 from this part of the crank to the wall of the case. Now I'm only measuring on the right side of the case. I didn't measure the whole thing, but that's good info right there. When I measure it like that, I'm getting 3.5. So that means whatever JB weld I put in the case, it shouldn't be thicker than 2 millimeters. Now, let's do the same thing again to the other side. There we go. Let's say 7 millimeters between the inside of the crank and the housing for the bearing, this part. And for this, so this one was a little more at 1.9, but see, that's that play, the run out one way or the other. Okay, I'm happy with those measurements. This is now my Play-Doh to play with. Thank you, Play-Doh. Okay, that's your information. So I'm gonna watch the footage back and write down all the numbers so that we have them 100% accurately, and we'll go from there. So last night I put a lot of thought into it. I said I am 100% not going to do any case stuffers. And literally the moment I touched it, I decided we're gonna do case stuffers. So I'm waiting for some parts to come in for that motor. I'm just waiting for a new cylinder to come in. The one that they sent me was a complete dud. Actually, I ordered two and both of them were a dud. They had a hole in the sidewall of the cylinders. So I have a little bit of downtime, so to speak, and something that has been on my plate for, I don't know, 2 years or so, maybe longer, 3 years, is this. This is my very first motor ever. You guys know it as my 50cc. It has never actually been on the channel in any formal way. It's been on the channel in let's get it running, look at the way I'm building it, all this, that, and the other. This motor has a lot of nifty little things to it, which when I get into it and start building it back up again, I will refresh your memory. But some of the things is just like, for instance, how I like trenched the transfers. Now, I could go in and make a lot of this stuff a little bit nicer because of the tooling that I now have, but I'm not. I'm gonna run it just the way it is. Last time I built it up when I was trying to make the stud work, I actually filled this in with JB Weld. I think I went like about 1 millimeter thick of JB Weld on both halves, basically like a case stuffing. So that was the only thing I did where it's going to be different from the very last time I had it up and running. So the big issue is I drilled this out, I tapped this, everything for the larger stud holes. So I drilled the cylinder out for the M8 studs because I didn't really think to buy M6 studs, which is what this was. I probably wouldn't have had any of this problem. Nonetheless, I drilled it out, and because of the way it was extremely close to the wall. This one was, just like how this one's kind of close. Well, this one was way closer. Well, I tried to JB weld it in. You guys know I can't weld aluminum. I don't have a TIG welder. So I tried to JB weld the stud in, this stud, and it just did not work. It literally, as soon as I tightened it down, it pulled right out. So you could see it is really wallered out now, okay? So nothing to do with like the actual transfer. The only bit of wallering that you see is completely in the stud hole itself. So I basically wallered it out enough so that it will accept a stud with a nut on it. Now this nut I welded to the end of the stud, and it fits in there like so. Now it's got to be lined up just right, but to line it up, what I'm going to do, I have to get it exact where I want it before I tighten it down and stuff, and then I can line up the stud. So because it's metal there and I have the nut on the end, I could 100% JB weld this in, and I think it would be secure. Like, I really do. I think no matter what, because I'm not relying on the JB weld to now hold the weight of the threads, it would actually hold it. All I needed to do is hold it in place from turning and moving. But I'm gonna try this first. I've never used it before, and I figured what better way than to jump right in head first. So these are aluminum weld. Basically, it's a way to weld aluminum together without actually welding it. But I saw a bunch of videos on, well, a while ago how to use it, but I also saw one on the strength of it. This is actually, I think, like 40 or 50, somewhere around that, PSI stronger than the actual aluminum, the cast aluminum that I'm gonna be putting it into. So this will 100% be strong enough if I can get it to bond to the aluminum and also fill the void. Now you can 100% use AlumiWeld to AlumiWeld the like steel parts together. It doesn't have to be aluminum from my understanding. So I wanna AlumiWeld the bolt, the stud in there. Originally I was gonna try to do it without the nut, but now I was thinking about this, but if I put a nut on the end of it, there's no way it can pull through the case. That little bit of weight that I'm gonna pull on to hold it isn't gonna pull it through the case. So we are definitely gonna go ahead and try this out and see if this works. And now I did go and buy MAP gas. I tried using AlumiWeld a little bit once before, and I was doing some test runs, and I only had the propane, and that does not get nearly hot enough. You have to have the MAP gas to get it actually hot. The MAP gas should do it. That should be more than enough to get the heat that I need into this. Full disclosure here, I need something to isolate the heat when I have it on my table, and bricks are a great isolator because they're very porous, so it's hard to transfer the actual heat through the brick. So I got 4 of them. I just gotta make sure I clean this up well enough so that it can accept any AlumiWeld onto it. That is the main thing they say, is it's gotta be super duper clean. This is definitely clean because I just finished grinding it with that. Nonetheless, everything else seems really good. I got it as plumb and flat as I could. I got the angles. Now it definitely fits in one way best because that's just the way I was doing it, but it's got a little bit of gap all the way around, and I want to fill that void in. Now, nonetheless, you can see it with how the nut is on the stud. I could just JB weld this, and I think we would be fine because the aluminum that's holding it is plenty thick enough to hold what I need it to hold. So if for some reason I can't get the AlumiWeld to start working, then I will 100% go ahead and try to do the JB weld. The only thing I'm worried about is the heat with the JB weld that is in here, because I don't know how hot you can get JB weld, because I think you have to get this up to like 750 degrees before you can start welding. Hopefully it all goes well. Okay guys, so this is what I got going for a setup. So basically what's going to happen here is I got a little makeshift kiln sent up, so to speak. So I got my heat gun here facing on the inside of the wall, so it's not directly in the cavity. I got the torch with the MAP gas hooked up, leaned up so it blows directly underneath in the area I'm trying to get hot. So I have every option I can have set up to get as much heat as possible. The aluminum is such a good heat sink that it just throws any heat away. And I did a little test run yesterday, that's why this is brown. This was actually really lasting pretty good. I think I was right on the verge of getting it to go. They say JB Weld can last for 10 minutes at 600 degrees, but can withstand 500 degrees, no problem. If it burns up, it doesn't matter, I'll replace it. And honestly, I have a better way of doing this now anyway, so nonetheless, it really doesn't matter to me either way. But wish me luck, I'll show you how it goes mid-process if it all works out well. And we got the heater on, we got the torch going right. It's getting hot, everything's getting plenty hot, it's smoking yet. Yesterday on my test run, it started to smoke a little. I'm assuming everything's getting so hot. So All right, guys, so I tried to get this to heat up and get the aluma weld in there, but I need a acetylene torch. It just is not getting it hot enough. Even with the MAP gas, I could not get it. Gunner, did it work? Gunner, did it work?
Yeah.
No, it did not work, Gunner. It did not work. What are you talking? It didn't work, guys. Don't believe. He doesn't know what he's talking about, right? Do you know what you're talking about?
Mm-hmm.
No, you don't. You're so silly. Okay, so I got to get an actual oxygen acetylene torch, like a mini one, actually made for brazing. So that's what we're going to do. That's going to be the next goal for equipment for my little workbench. When I do that, I can always revisit this, but for now, we're just going to fill it up with JB Weld Quick Cure. As you can see also, there is no more JB Weld in here. You can see it started catching on fire, so I had to take a screwdriver and just break it all out. I don't think I'm gonna fill this up with JB Weld again. I think I'm just gonna cut a piece of aluminum and do it the actual proper way. Alrighty guys, so this is what we got, check it out. So we got the epoxies all dried up. I used the Quick Cure epoxy so I could get right back on this. So I'm gonna knock this down with a burr and just get this down, because see this marking right here? The cylinder actually does contact it, the skirt of the cylinder right there contacts it just ever so slightly. So to get it to fit nice and smooth, I want to knock that down. All right guys, check it out. So I got this in, I cleaned it up with the burr just a wee bit, and now we got a nice flush fit. Everything lines up great. Very happy with that. The epoxy is locating the stud and the nut where I need it to be to put the cylinder on. It is not actually holding or bearing any of the weight for the strength of the stud to stay in its pocket. So everything is great so far. Very happy with the way this is turning out. But for now, I'm very happy with this. And if for some reason this didn't work, I use the Quick Weld. I can use the actual JB Weld, which I use on my wheels, and we all know how well that's holding up. Now the next step, we got to figure out the actual shape and size of stuffer. So that's the next step. I'll show you how we do that too. Okay, so this is what I'm doing. So I took just regular old Play-Doh. I take little pieces. Okay, I use this Play-Doh all the time for, you know, motor stuff. That's why I don't give it back to the kids, because you see it gets dirty. Okay, guys, so out of all the aluminum sheets that I have here, these are the two that are going to be the closest for what I want. So I wanted to go with a 1.75 millimeter, but I don't have that one. Using what we have, so we're gonna take this one. You can see how thick it is. It's 1.5 mil. Now I'm going to make it the exact size, and we'll see how that goes. I really don't know. All right, guys, I got the one done rough cut. So we got the rough cut. I don't have the ears cut out yet. You know, the 4 ears where the screws go through for the CDI. These things, they're not cut out yet, and I don't have the shape done yet. I will grind away and get closer and closer to fit it. I'm gonna cut this one out first so I could do all grinding at once, like I'm doing all the cutting at once. The pancake mix worked very well. It released the Play-Doh easily. I got the exact shape so I can get the sizing, and we'll go from there. So I got the good rough cuts, and then we can just sneak up on it from there. I think it was a pretty easy way to get the actual measurements, because if I did this with cardboard, I would have to sit there and eke up on the lines, get the rough size, and then eke up, eke up, eke up. This, I was able to just get the exact size, trace it out, and I know this line is it, so I'll just cut around it, and then we can grind and go perfect, because it's hard to cut the saw exactly on the line the whole way. Or I'm just not good enough at it, to be honest with you. Once we get that done, we can get the JB Weld in. So nonetheless, we got to make sure we seal it really good with the JB Weld around the edges and everything. But I think for the rough cut, this is great. Okay, fellas, check it out. We have got the first one done. So this is it. Came out pretty okay-ish. It's in there, no problem. Easy peasy. So I'm happy with that. All right, we got them both done and dusted. Well, actually, I still gotta dust them off, but nonetheless, they are done and finished. So this one is below the lip for the transfer. Same thing with this one. So we don't have to do any porting or anything like that I can see as of yet. So we got everything all cut out. Pretty easy standard stuff right there. I'm gonna JB Weld these in, and I wanna see how thick I can go with the JB Weld with this plate. I just wanna get a double measurement. This was 1.5 millimeters thick, but I'd like to go maybe 0.5 millimeter thick of JB Weld. And that is holding up very well so far, it looks like. Everything looks great, like Tony the Tiger. All right, this is what it looks like after we put it together. And when I say we, I mean we. Right, you helped me, Gunnar?
Yeah.
Did you help me?
Yeah.
Yeah, you did. Okay, so it looks really great. I can't really test fit it yet. This looks good too. I'm gonna mold this in just to give it a, instead of a drop shelf there, I'm gonna give it a little smoother transition. And we squeezed out a bunch and it looks great. I think it's gonna look great when I finish cleaning up. Did you help me?
Yeah.
Did you help? Ooh, we got a before, we got an after. So that is fully cleaned up and ready to go. This is next in line. Just so you can see, this was filling up with JB Weld because it was a little bit more liquid than I thought. So I actually just filled it up and then just coved it right to the line because this is case matched to the cylinder. And then I put the slightest little bit of bevel right here. I mean, it looks great. It looks really, really great. One down, one to go. This is gonna work, guys. I am confident this is gonna work. All right, guys, check out the gaps that we have. Boy, looking at it from this angle, you can't even tell that I stuffed the case. Okay, so guys, look at this. See this thing here? This is a ringland, okay? Off of a piston, off of this motor's piston. Not this piston though. I was running late to go pick the kids up and I had already put the moto seal on and I couldn't get the cylinder down. But to get the cylinder down, I was hitting it upside down and the piston kind of cocked like this and it got jammed against the skirt. When it did, it pushed down on the ringland. And because the top ringland that it was up against is not stock size, it's more like that, but it cracked. When I tried to make the space to get it, you know, crack it, move it back, it just cracked off. So that stinks. All right, so you can see right up in there, see the actual broken ringland. The compression will be a little off, but it is what it is. Nonetheless, for now, I'm just gonna run it. I'll get a whole new piston. It does look like maybe the crack goes farther, but it is what it is. Okay guys, so you can see right there, I cut up a soda can. I took out the stock gasket, head gasket, because I really didn't want to go nuts with sanding down the cylinder since I have to put another piston in anyway. So I just put in a soda can gasket. That got our squish to 0.63. I'm happy with that. So that's what we're gonna do. So I'm gonna send it, run it as is. The right side of the motor is going to have a much different transfer, which will also change our blowdown a little bit. Hopefully not mess it up too much, but basically by the intake side, you saw way in the back there in the corner. It opens up like, I don't know, it's probably like 7 degrees sooner. But it is what it is. I'm going to send it and run it as is, and hopefully it works. I think it will still work. It just won't be proper. I should have just waited knowing I only had 25 minutes left. I should have just been like, you know what, don't start doing it. Wait till you pick the kids up, then start doing it. So it just is what it is, man. Every day is a new lesson, and if you don't learn anything, then you're not paying attention. I've learned this lesson before, but I'm pretty thick-skulled, and sometimes you gotta learn it more than once. All right, we got a quick little adjust on the clutch we just finished. We just mounted up, oh, in case you don't know, we just mounted up the 50cc on Purple Nightmare. We took off the Minarelli, had Robert's YD on it. Video coming on that soon. Very impressive. And I figured since we're not going to put the Minarelli on quite this second, let's go ahead and throw this 50 on we've been working on for the past 2 years. So this is a big deal. Let's hope it fires up. I have no idea, but the clutch was slipping immediately, so I tightened that up. Got to adjust the cable on the other side, and then we'll give it a start and see how it goes. I am excited, guys. This is my very first motor ever that got me into this whole crazy hobby. Well, the 50 is running, but she is really lean, so it's got no get up and go. But we'll get that fixed. I just wanted to see if it started up. It won't keep playing, and I have other stuff I gotta get done, so keep it alive, guys. Woohoo, buddy.